It's a creation, Joan. It's not a destruction. That's what I want you to do. I want you to be creative. I want you to build things.
I built lamps!
Relationships, possibilities, connection.
At the end of season 1, we built a whole year of Joan getting acquainted with God, getting to know him, believing he was who he said he was, or who she said she was, and then finding out that she has an illness and has been hallucinating, and she isn't sure that it happened at all. It was a crisis of faith in the first season.
So now in the second season, she's, obviously not very cheery or optimistic about having this, God person come around again, especially in the very first couple of episodes. She's very sort of put off and not into having any conversation whatsoever.
But once that's taken care of in the first couple of episodes, she's accepted God in her life. She's accepted this person coming and giving her tasks to do. So now it becomes more about how does she incorporate God's plans for her, God's tasks that he gives her, or she gives her, depending on how God appears, and how that invests itself in the family.
The Bakers are suing us.
What?
Andy Baker is suffering emotional damages, it seems. $500,000 is going to take care of that, though.
I wanted to have something going on in their lives that was really unjust, really hard to explain or understand, because that, to me, is how we all live. We live every day with things that are incredibly unjust and evil and frightening and threatening.
It's one thing to completely sever a relationship with someone who you had a painful relationship with. It's another thing to sue your friend.
Well, I think the whole topic of the lawsuit and the way we covered that, it was intense because I was able to talk to people where it actually really happened to them. And they were kind of telling me how devastating that is when you're already overcoming one kind of tragedy and then have this other thing kind of happen on top of it.
And the family kind of really struggles and not breaks apart because we're still there with each other, but everybody's coping in their own way.
It's really painful for everyone as well because the accident didn't just happen to Kevin, it happened to everyone in his entire family.
What happens in the story of the lawsuit and what happens with the Girardis in general is that they have the opportunity to sink to the level of the people who are attacking them. They have the opportunity to betray their own values. What they always tend to do as a family and as people is recognize that they have standards, that things like character and morals matter to them.
You should have him stay here. Be more comfortable, till he figures out what he's gonna do. Hey, have some ice cream, huh? Before I eat it all.
And I think throughout the season, we've tried to come up with situations that test Joan's resolve, because I think that's sort of what Joan's spiritual path is this year. We also brought her friends more to the forefront. Now they've been established, Grace and Adam and Friedman, and they have more of a storyline, so you need to follow those things as well.
You create characters. Often it has to do with who you cast. If there's chemistry in the cast with those actors, then you want to keep them around, and then their relationships necessarily evolve.
Dr. Dan never used the word crazy. He called it impaired perception. What you knew was nuts, which is why you didn't believe me.
But I believe you now.
Well, I don't want you to believe me now.
Why?
Because I'm sane, and I made all these lamps.
But what if it's possible?
It's not.
Well, this season, Joan's relationship with Adam has, I wouldn't say really butted that much. I think that Joan and Adam got to a comfort level in their relationship.
So he goes back to her second season in the beginning, and their relationship is really awkward and very weird. 1, because she's tried to make a huge change in her life. 2, because they haven't seen each other in 3 months. 3, now he believes that she actually sees God. And 4, their communication is sort of broke down.
In all relationships, there's not always that, time when you're in love and things are great and you want to be with that person all the time. There's the stress of work and there's the stress of survival and in school, being in high school, all that stuff.
Yeah, they try really hard to have a fancy romantic date, and it's really genuine and very, really, cute.
Can I have a kiss? So we sort of see Joan and Adam progress into this place of being a little stagnant for a little bit, but then all of these things about self-worth and jealousy and possession come into play, and you start to see Adam and Joan do these really weird things where they're trying to get each other to notice each other, as if they don't. It's like almost like a test.
You had my heart, Adam. And that's what you took with you when you went to hook up with her.
And obviously, at the end of the season, we break up because certain people are cheaters.
Like any normal teenage boy, I guess, most teenage boys, sex is such a huge thing that it can disorient or sort of put a fog over what really is important, to be honest, and that's what happens. I mean, Adam really wants to have sex with Joan, and she doesn't, and she's not ready, and he lets that get the best of him.
We have to pick another place. There's a security guard that drives around.
He's gonna tell the kids at school.
He could know people there.
She still wants to maintain a sense of self, I think, is her big fear of, like, having a relationship. She's that woman, that modern day girl.
I think the reason why Grace kind of made it so secretive at first is because dating is so against everything that Grace stands for.
Everything that they do has to be a secret. Everything that they do is contractual. She writes up a contract that he has to sign. She's, pretty much by the book. She's not ready to just gush on Luke by any means.
So it was weird for her to kind of put that label on it. And she still hasn't. Like, even though now other people know that we're kind of seeing each other, she still hasn't put that, like, boyfriend-girlfriend label on it. And I don't think she ever will, because that's not what she's about.
Love seems it's a bit silly. That's the exterior. The interior, I think, is she's just extremely afraid to feel vulnerable in front of anyone.
And I think that was obviously a little hard for Luke, because Luke felt more like a mistress as opposed to like an actual boyfriend. So.
Michael Walsh is gonna make someone such an amazing husband someday. Oh my God, he's like the sweetest boy. So nice, so smart and sweet.
It's amazing how Luke's love life has gone so much further than mine has, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm still in high school. I'm working on this. I'm busy, but yeah, I'm kind of, I guess, living vicariously through Luke in that department.
I think the writers were interested in bringing in a new character who would be a little bit more on the dark side, who would allow us to question areas of drug abuse, alcoholism, particularly teenage alcoholism, and overall bad behavior.
The episode where Judith unfortunately gets stabbed, that was so powerful. It was dark and it was heavy, and everyone I know cried their eyes out at the end of it, but it was really amazing.
We wanted to give something for Joan to directly deal with when the death of one of her best friends is something that would create a crisis of faith in anybody, especially a teenager. But when you're dealing with someone who actually personally knows God and can talk to him and can say to him, as she does in that episode, "How could you let her die? This is your fault."
Everyone is crossing a bridge with more weight than they can bear. So, you juggle.
like the darker, more mysterious stuff where, we're completely tackling issues or concepts that are beyond human understanding, and therefore you can dwell within them even deeper because, it's part of the unknown. So there's not really any limit you can put to that.
My favorite episodes from season 2, POV. It's when Joan and Judith have like their big fight, and she thinks that Adam is cheating on her with Judith, and it's just so good. I love that one.
I really liked Michael Welch's episode about his birthday, and he gets the kite, and I thought he did like a really, really great job with that.
Independence Day was really good. That was the one where Joan and Adam go to, and they sleep in the camper together, and Adam and Joan. So it was really good.
Jason Ritter, when I really loved how, he gets his first reporting job. So he goes to have these tests to see if, his legs could work again. And I thought he was like absolutely wonderful in what he did.
I really liked all of the times where Kevin gets abandoned. I just felt Kevin just sitting there going, okay, let me figure out what just happened.
Yeah, Mary Steenburgen's episode, where she finds out, that the guy who raped her wants to meet her and apologize. Hearing Mary Steenburgen's voice sometimes at really vulnerable moments can really kind of catch me off guard.
I would say that the relationship between Luke and Grace has been one of my favorite things.
For me, the ones that have been fun is when I get to transform, which they let Grace do a lot, considering, and this particular one, I give Luke a jacket. He ends up changing his whole persona to fit this coat, and it drives me batty, and it's ridiculous and hilarious, and so I end up going and showing up at his house in complete Gap wear.
I enjoy a lot of the episodes where there's a lot of interaction between the 5 of us within the family, especially. And where you find out that we each have with supposedly divergent kinds of stories happening that ultimately kind of meld together in the end.
I thought that Annie Potts was great in her part as my husband's boss, and that whole thing about, was he going to have an affair with her? Which people stopped me on the street to tell me that if he did, they were going to stop watching. I mean, they were very upset by it, but I guess that's a good thing, they're involved.
Well, at the end of season 2, I sort of looked back and realized that this had actually been a boot camp for Joan. It had been training camp, but that we needed to kick it up to the next level because God didn't come down to talk to Joan to just make her teen life okay, to make dating okay or school okay. God had something much bigger in mind for her. If we are saying that she is the contemporary Joan of Arc, what's always been so fascinating about Joan of Arc is that God didn't give her a simple, loving task. God asked her to go to war.
Our nun, Lily Waters, says, evil isn't fire and brimstone. Evil is sweet and attractive and enticing. And that's the evil you need to be aware of in this world.
We don't have to be bossed around by some love-starved, egocentric deity. I didn't ask to be born, but now that I'm here, it's all up to me. I like it that way. My life is a gift? Okay, thanks. You can't ask for it back.
Joan has spent 2 years, in essence, in training for what's to come and following God's advisements in a much larger arena.
There's whole other levels here because they're dealing into metaphysics and physics and science and religion and spiritualism and faith, and so that's what to me makes the show so interesting and so rich and so different, and why I think it'll also be enduring.
The other Joan, she had an army, okay? I don't have anything like that. Where's my army?
Quit it, Friedman.
Ow. Yeah, so basically I'm on my own.
You have everything you need, Joan.
I've always maintained that Joan of Arcadia is the conversation that we all want to have with God. And we all want to get in God's face and say, what was that about? What am I supposed to do with this? Joan has the opportunity to actually do that. But Joan finds him as baffling as anyone does because he doesn't answer her because he doesn't have to. This is her experience and for her to understand and to learn from, and that's what she ultimately does.